Yeah, wrong-uns. I'm just going to get my feet under the pew. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here together to worship this thing called Battenberg. So welcome all. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. I hope Des Ashton's just said, you chunkies, make sure that you budge up a bit. Des needs a comfortable seat at his age. Des, you're wrong. To Rixan, good evening, everyone. I think I managed to get most of the comments. Rusty Mouse and Napoleon Blown Apart and Des and Penny Hen. Oh, hang on. See you soon, Rev. Love to all. Where are you going, Penny? To GB Patriot. Yeah, evening, Adrian. Yeah, wrong. Is it just me, or am I getting sick of political adverts on YouTube, or does anyone else feel the same? The more they pop up, the less likely I am to vote. Interesting take on that, GB Patriot. No, I haven't. Because I'm trying to... who's that? Kaz987, evening AA. Basically, GB Patriot, I'm trying to avoid... I mean, I have to, for this, know what's going on. But I just feel slightly grubby. Because I just see these propaganda peddlers peddling the lies of the politician. And you know, I always say, how can you tell when a politician's lying? Their lips move. So this we've got weeks of it yet. Weeks. We've only had 1 week. And already we're losing our mind. Hi, Maria. To Nikki Watson, ad blogger, I hate adverts. Oh, thank you, Nikki. Is that the way forward? So, GB Patriot, I feel your pain. I do feel your pain. I mean, there's only so much rich boy soaked. And Sir Keir, is he scaring you yet? Mr. Flip Flop, Mr. I don't believe a word that's coming out of his gob, Starmer. Lauren Taylor says, as an aside, you suit blue. Oh, I say, Lauren, must be my colours. To Andrew James, tape recorder is in the confessional. Abdul from the Spa has now run out of skips and communal bread, so it's discos AA. You have choice of music. It's either Best of the Eagles or their greatest hits. Isn't that the same thing? I do prefer Steely Dan, if that's okay. Andrew James for next week. To Les Vogel, good evening. The mighty Reverend Adrian. I'm looking forward to tonight's sermon. Got the Matthias on chill. Oh, you wicked tart, Les. The communal wine should be passed around, Les. We're family. We are the body of the Kirk. We are the great unwashed, and we pass our communal wine amongst each other. And if anybody's listening, I very much doubt it, in my house, an hibiscus would be lovely. Thank you, Les. Will you be mentioning the scumbags, Labour councillors in Oldham who continue to oppose? Oh, I don't think I got all of that, Les. Oppose inquiries into what? The gangs, the stuff. I am going to talk about Yorkshire a little bit later on, because before I go on with the comments, I'm really struggling with the amount of, if I may be so bold, shite in the mainstream media, and I'm trying to filter through. I mean, I've looked at what Dan Wootton's saying about LBC. I've looked at what various of the commentators are talking about, and there's no real zeitgeist. There's no real, unless you call national service the main topic, or the post office the main topic. But I've already done a separate video on that particular brown storm. So there's nothing that gladdens the heart. There is a word in Japanese, I'm sure I've told you before. It means, it's daijubyo. Roughly translated from Japanese to English, it means it gladdens my heart. So there's nothing that brings me daijubyo. No, nothing gladdens my heart in the media. And I got to this afternoon, and there's stuff going on in the background that I will endeavour to tell you about during this. But It's just awful. There's newspapers talking about, oh, well, there's all this misogyny going on in schools. Here, mate, Foxtrot Oscar, we're not interested. I don't care whether your newspaper's free. Foxtrot Oscar, because there was a massive piece in the newspapers today about a woman domestically abusing a man. And these prats that sit there, I'm a journalist, I can type this. Fuck off! Misogyny, my hairy arse! There's women domestically abusing men. And these newspapers are, look, I wouldn't wipe my brown arse with the shit in those newspapers. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Just saying. Back in the room. Andy Turner says, pass the beers along. I'm ready for tonight's sermon. National Union of Seamen. I am going to use that particular word, sermon, in just a little while. Nigel Green says, oh, hello, good evening, rector of the Battenberg. Rector? It nearly killed me. And rector of the Battenberg congregation. Thank you, Nigel. Before you sit down to finger your upright, I believe one of the pipes is blocked. Maybe it needs blowing to relieve the blockage. Yeah, wrong. And so if anybody has time to just go and blow one of the pipes on the mighty organ, it would be much appreciated. We will be getting to the poop. Churchill dog and Diane Abbott separated at birth. That's too funny. That is too funny. Yes, I am going to mention the old boy in Rome. 97, 197, 1097. Who knows what age he is? He's 87. But he's put the cat amongst the pigeons. They're not happy with him in Rome. They're not happy with him worldwide. I mean, come on. They're talking about rector of the Battenberg, the Bishop of Rome, and I will tell you later on, I will evidence the fact that I am not bashing the Bishop of Rome. But I have some insight. I do have some insight. He's proper gubbed up as an old boy. Oh, yes, we can't have all this stuff happening, can we? No, Your Excellency, no. The Swiss Guard. Why do they call it the Swiss Guard? Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just dropping your pointers in all these lives. You're wrongin'. Just, who's actually running the world? Don't be silly. It's not the Pope. You ask any of the Swiss. Ask them, tell me how your country was formed. And they can't tell you. I've been to Switzerland a few times. Skiing, fabulous. Davos, interesting. But Switzerland, they can't tell you how they came about. If you look at our history, we can go back to the 900s, we can go back to the Vikings and the 700s. We can kind of give you a 2,000-year-old history. I mean, some places on planet Earth, go further back, Göbekli Tepe. You can go back tens of thousands of years, if Graham Hancock is believed, and then you've got the pyramids, thousands and thousands. Yeah, Bovril, Switzerland was formed out of snow. Could be, but we have to get back to Nigel. Nigel has said, look, the upright is the organ is a bit blocked. It's an age thing, I suppose. So if somebody is available, kindly just give it a... It's called blow, but I think you'll find it's a suck. Nigel also said, I've put on a lot of weight since being on holiday. It'll teach me to wear my glasses when booking next. I thought I booked a week in Thailand. Turns out it was Pieland. Easy mistake, you wrong'un. Rusty Mouse says, soon we will hear the sound of the Reverend Age doing his soft shoe shuffle. You utter wrong'un. I am not a soft shoe shuffler. I might be well hung, but... and clutching the altar wine, a perfect sight to behold. Yes, I do have the slip-ons, because there's nothing better than putting your cassock on and then slipping into something comfortable. That's all I'm going to say before the cops arrive. Stuart says, thank you, Rusty Mouse. Good to have you in the body of the Kirk as always. And Nigel Green and Andy Turner and Les and Andrew James and GB Patriot so far. to Stuart. Evening, Adrian. Yeah, wrong. I've got a couple of cold ones in the fridge. Me too. I think it's the weather though, or an age thing. Oh, sorry. I've got a couple of cold ones in the fridge. I promise I won't leave the empties lying around. Good man. Otherwise, you'll be upsetting the choir boys. What was that film all about the choir boys? Oh, it was the choir boys. The film was called the choir boys back in the late 70s. Yeah, late 70s, early 80s. All I remember, I read the book called The Choir Boys. It was all about New York cops meeting and just being outlandish. I just remember the phrase diamond cutter. No, I'm not going to tell you what it was, but Nigel Green may have referenced that particular organ earlier in the sermon. Thank you, Stuart. Roy Gordon, evening, yeah. Wrong-uns, I'm early to make up for last time. Yeah, slagger. Call yourself late. No, Adrian, I call myself Roy. All right, then. I'm in early to make up for last time, Your Eminence. Also, I have refreshments aplenty. Oh, we're awash with imbibement and Battenberg. Lovely. Although the alcohol does tend to make the Battenberg taste a little interesting. I hope everyone in the congregation has had a fantastic day. Thank you, Roy, and to you and yours. To Nuts and Bolts, GB Patriot, Google for an ad stopper, which you can install on your browser. Ghostery is one. Then there is sponsor. Oh, really? Oh, every day's a school day in the body of the Kirk. Welcome to the body of the Kirk, Nuts and Bolts. Andy Sinsky. Hello, you bunch of Battenberg munchers. Evening, Andy. I hope you've all washed your hands and other godly parts ready for this evening's sermon. Do you know, Andy, I am going to reference godliness as next to cleanliness. I think you were reading my mind for this evening's sermon, but I will elucidate in just a little while. Karen Boo, UK, says, evening, all you wrong-uns. I brought crumpets tonight. Oh, there's nothing better than a bit of crumpet, Karen. There's enough to go round, she reckons. Is it smothered? Well, I do like a bit of crumpet that's smothered. Hope everyone is well, and you too, Karen. Viv Kenyon's back in the body of the Kirk. Ready in my pew. Ready for beer, banter, and Battenberg. The 3 Bs, Viv. With the rest of you wrong-uns. And our glorious Reverend, of course. That's Viv and Dallo. Roy Gordon's back in it. Andy Sinsky. My godly parts are always washed and ready. You went to the Boy Scouts, were you? Right. Andrew James, please note, wow, it's 50 quid to sit in the front pews or a Rolex. Andrew, you're tart. It's supposed to be free. The body of the Kirk's supposed to be free. An energetical exchange, of course, with a few a few bits and pieces. A few comments is enough. And Nicky Watson says, evening all. I sit in the second row. I'm skint. Brilliant, Nicky. And Louise Hampson says, evening one and wrong-uns. And Rexanne says, good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well. Well, I hope everyone has got their feet under their pews. I'm getting into it now. So firstly, I'm going to talk about the Pope, Chief Paedophile, or Bishop of Rome. But as I've said to you before, at my age, I'm not one for bashing the bishop, but he's going to get it tight tonight, because tight is good, so I'm told. So we'll do with that, because there is a red pope, there's a black pope, there's a white pope, and somebody talked about a grey pope, but I don't believe in the grey pope. And the white pope, absolved of all of his sins, I very much doubt it. So the next live is going to be next Wednesday, not on Sunday. I have a family emergency that I need to take care of, that I need to show support for and be around. So this weekend I'm kind of off the radar for a couple of days, whilst I don't know those that are regular to the lives can Amalia Grassie's back in the house. Amalia, hang on, pop-eyed was that? I guess Joe Biden's around somewhere. He will be a little bit later on. Pop-eyed was that? And welcome to the Bovril. What is the scandal doing the rounds at the moment? Oh, you've come to the right place. The Bovril. I wonder if the Pope sits there and goes, oh, not so far in. Andy Sinsky says, great man singing. I'm not quite sure if he's having a conversation with me, but let's get to Amalia, who I always welcome into the church. And Andrew James, thank goodness, that's heartening to hear. Do you mind me asking what area you're in? I'm curious, as I know it's not consistent across the board, sadly. I'll let you just chat amongst the pews whilst I just, get me cassock right and make sure there's plenty of altar wine before the wrong ones get stuck in. So this situation with the family a couple of weeks ago, like a lot of people are dealing with similar, and I don't necessarily want to bring my very, very private life to YouTube, because it is social media after all, and I do leave these lives up here. But it's, I don't really know what to say. It's just a situation that's going to affect me greatly. That's all I can say. And so I'm trying not to focus on it, because it's, look, I'm an old boy, my parents have gone, and I understand. Well, my martial art, which I love dearly, ninjutsu, an old saying from a very great man who once said to me, Adrian, where there is light, there is also darkness. Know the difference. And I know, the life-giving sword. I understand that sometimes there is a natural way of things. But when you love someone beyond measure, whether it's husband, wife, son, daughter, close relative, it's still very, very difficult. So this weekend, I hope you don't mind, I'm just going to take a few days away. I'll be back possibly Monday or Tuesday. I'm just going to take a few days away to be with those that I love dearly. So that's all. Don't worry that there's no live on Sunday. I know Amalia will have withdrawal symptoms. Who's that? Pop-eyed Wazza turned 34 yesterday, Adrian. Oh, you whippersnapper. Pop-eyed Wazza. Happy birthday for yesterday. Those in the chat that wish Pop-eyed Wazza 34 yesterday. Oh, I was as mad as a hatter in my 30s. They call it your kinky 30s, don't they? Because you get you just you get through your 20s, and your 20s are a nothing, really. They're just you finding sound is distorting. Is that really? Can you tell me in the chat? Stuart's 31 in August. Let me just make sure that it's not, I'm not too far away from it. Is it distorting? I am on Wi-Fi. I'm popping. Well, I say, never in my broadcasting career have I popped before. I don't know, well, in a radio studio, there's this big fluffy woolly thing that you stick on the end of the mic. It's called the amateur shield in the pro ranks, because basically anybody that comes from, and I don't mean this disrespectfully at all, but there are those that come from the amateur ranks into broadcasting, and you can tell because their mic technique is very suspect. And as a pro, you kind of your microphone is your tool, your main tool. A mic muff. Oh, I love a great muff. I do love a good muff. In fact, I once dropped it. I've dropped my mic muff a couple of times while I've been on air, and I've had to bend down so quickly that it's almost looked like a muff dive. Well, you bugger off. I'm not buying Android. So sorry, I'm having a rather bizarre conversation in my head with somebody who I shouldn't be having a conversation with. So that's what's going on over the next few days. That's why there's no live on Sunday. Just please indulge me while I just deal with stuff. So welcome to the body of the kirk. Yeah, wrong. It's a broad church with enough space for everyone. As Des Ashton asked a little earlier, can you at least put one cheek a little further up the pew so Des can get in? The sermon will start soon. The hymns are on the board. Thank you to Andrew James. Altar wine available by the glass. Free. unlike those that are bringing their own in. Oh, yeah, share your altar wine. And refreshments in the form of a slice of ye old Battenberg available on request. Just don't ask Tower Block Tracy, because she might give you too many E-numbers. So, welcome all legendary Battenbergers. Who's that? Sarah Ann, plain existence. I lost my mum to the jibby jabber a couple of weeks ago. My heart is broken, so a lot of us are dealing with grief of some description. Prayers for your family members, Adrian. Sarah Ann, thank you for that. And me and my family's wishes to you. It's an awful thing that a lot of people are dealing with. So what I'd like to do, if you're in agreement, is just kind of look at the world in general, the madness that's going on, the propaganda peddlers, the BS. Hang on, Andy Sinsky said, yes, please, to Tower Block Tracy. Do you know what you're doing, Andy? She'll kill you. What's the old phrase in the Northeast? Suck you in and blow you out in bubbles. Yeah. Condolences, Sarah Ann, but thank you for mentioning it. Thank you for your best wishes. It's all reflected back to you a multitude of times. Yeah, Amalia says there's so much sadness and challenges in the world. I agree with you. But we are the legendary Battenbergers. We are in the body of the Kirk this evening. We are here just to get ourselves mentally and emotionally correct. So welcome to all the legendary Battenbergers. If you're a first timer, don't forget I want to pop your cherry tonight. So if you are a first timer, just put it in the comments. And if I manage to see it either on my little TV screen or on my larger computer screen, then I will your cherry. So if you wish. But we've got to start with Diane Abbott. I mean, is she? Isn't she? Will she? Won't she? Diane Abbott. Oh, first time. Leah, I'm a first timer in the chat. Leah. Hope it wasn't too painful. But there's your Theatre of the Mind cherry popped. And who's that? Stuart. I'm a first timer. You're greedy, Stuart. You're wrong. You just won. Second timer tonight. Who's that? Second timer tonight. Ramsden Croft. Thing's not working. Yeah, Sarah Ann. Yeah, we're all in this together. I know. And Tower Block Tracy says, it's been a long time since my first time. For you, if you can remember it. Who's that? Pop-eyed Wazzer, I'm a first timer too. What are you doing? I'm going to be worn out by the end of this. Popping so many cherries. I'll get myself a Tarquin's not a first timer, let me tell you. I will be getting myself a reputation on the street. So Diane Abbott, I want to talk about Diane Abbott, because literally by the minute, she's been in politics 37 years. So congratulations to Diane. Inside. Oh, hang on a second. Leah wants to know what is a Battenberg. So everybody's sitting there with their arms crossed, Leah. And before I get into Diane Abbott, oh, should I? Shouldn't I? In the field, this is my 87th time, Adrian. Diane Abbott taught me maths. Brilliant. Brilliant. I hope it's Leah and I'm pronouncing it correctly. You'll have to hang around these lives. You'll get it eventually. And the Battenberg. But just hang around with the wrong uns. And you'll soon find out, I promise you. It's well, it might put hairs on your chest. Not that you might want hairs on your chest, as Abbott told Starmer, Foxtrot Oscar. Well, that's what I'm going to get to, because I can't work out what's going on. So the news channels are saying one thing, which she's gone. Oh, hang on a second. She's had the whip reinstalled. And she's back in the Labour Party. And then Diane Abbott and Battenberg. Gross. Agreed. Poorly. But did you know that she was doing the like Fandango with Jeremy Corbyn? I shizer you not. She was. So Diane Abbott is both the first black woman elected to Parliament and the longest serving black MP. Wonderful. Wonderful. She'll go down in history. Not sure going down is her thing. 37 years later, that's how long she's been in politics. Remember, whatever height she achieved within Parliament, she will be given that as her pension for life. So one of the ministerial jobs, she's supposed to be what? She's supposed to be retiring due to health concerns. Rexanne. I wish she'd make her bloody mind up. Oh yes, she. Who's that? Rich says she's famous for taking a ride on Jeremy's moped, and it was 5 gears, so she enjoyed all of them seemingly. Didn't. So let me tell you, because I made notes just in case you went, no, behave, Jeremy banging Diane Abbott. Correct. Well, it's a euphemism because they say they went on a they went together by motorcycle to communist East Germany. Well, they would, wouldn't they? They would. She also made a few quid out of asylum seekers in the back end of the 90s. Wonder how much Diane made. Give her a couple of days to come up with the sums. So, congratulations on, I'll be polite, banging Jeremy Corbyn. He was another ally from that particular time back in the day. They had a brief affair in the 70s following the breakup of his first marriage. Whoa, Jeremy, you dark horse. They went travelling together by motorcycle to communist East Germany. Bet that was interesting. Can you imagine? The communists. Hello? Valley Avant. Oh, we're from England. We've just come across. Say hello to our communist brethren and sisterin. Are you sure? Yeah? So, the mainstream media are just printing utter twaddle, said a spokesperson, obviously in the body of the Kirk. I have a PowerPoint presentation on Battenberg, Tablock Tracy. And I say, he bikes dark horses by the sound of it. Well, I think it may have backfired. So, Jeremy Corbyn was definitely banging on that motorcycle. And so, on the one hand, now look, tonight's going to be a stream of consciousness. I may kind of reference one subject, go off and do another couple, and then come back and reference it again on my notes. Obviously, I'm not going to be getting any brews this evening from the staff. Did Corbyn first come into contact with Keir Starmer when out in East Germany? And it's an interactive PowerPoint. Does it point? Tablock Tracy? No, I don't think he did, but Keir is just going to attempt to kill off everything. So Diane was, the whip was withdrawn, and you know why it was withdrawn, and I think it's in my notes for a little later. She's an anti-Semite, racist to anybody else. Anti-Semitism is racism. So you can't have somebody going, everybody else is racist, when she's racist. It's as simple as that. And I said to you in the live on, where are we? This is Sunday. I said to you in the live on Sunday that she'd said that the travellers, Romanis and Jews were treated to as much racism as red-headed people. Wasn't clever, wasn't big. And she did withdraw the letter that she sent fairly quickly because she knew she'd dropped a big one. Corbyn grew up in Manor House and was privately educated. I know. He's got millions. He's a multi-millionaire. Have you noticed how these politicians have got millions, yet they only earn 100 grand a year? How does that work? Now, if Diane Abbott, Diane Abacus, if she'd made 100 grand a year for 37 years, that's 3.5 million. So she's worth a few bob. I mean, you know, they look after them in there. They don't spend much for their subsistence. They claim all kinds of expenses. Second houses, third houses, fourth houses. She bumped Corbyn at least 113 times. Brilliant, Alan. But so, we're being told, oh, no, she's had the whip removed, so she can't stand. And then she's been kicked out of the Labour Party. And then the next thing I see, like 5 minutes later, she's had the whip reinstated. Frank Boff paid good money for that. And she's now back in the Labour Party. And then 5 minutes later, oh, she can't stand at the general election. Hang on a second. Has she got the whip? Hasn't she got the whip, which is the parliamentary whip? Yeah, Corbyn did do staycations to be more working class. Bless him. Multi-millionaire, Jeremy Corbyn. Diane made sure her son was privately educated. Well, they all do, don't they? They all do. They all tell me and you one thing and then go and do the other. That's why the politicians, they lie continuously. And so she's made a few bob. She can retire with a few bob. Look, £100,000 a year. I mean, it'll be more than that, but 100 grand a year. Madam Whiplash. Who said that? Kathy Harper. Kathy wrong, definitely. Who had Madam Whiplash? Was that not? Wasn't that the vouchers for dancing? Wrong, all the judges and stuff. What was her name? Cynthia Payne. Wasn't she kind of Mrs. Madam Whiplash? Mrs. She'll have been called Ms. nowadays because it's 2024. They call them all Ms. even if they're married. Seeing visions of Abbott in a whip in her hand, not a pretty sight. I'm with you. But I'll leave it with you. It's not, burned onto your eyeballs, but it's... So I was in Parliament, bizarrely, I was in Parliament for when she was up and down like a bride's knickers on a honeymoon, when she was, up and down, up and down, up and down. Back to the organ again, 40 times. And Sir Lindsay Hoyle was like, oh, no, I'll just ignore you. You're an idiot. You're an anti-Semite. And she was completely ignored. And then, yeah, it's been bliss not hearing Abbott's voice, especially on the telly, Rusty Mouse. I agree, completely agree. And Stuart says, there's a mental image. Ask Frank Boff. And Jamie Theakston. So, I don't know whether she's going to be able to stand. Aren't they dissolving Parliament? I'm not quite sure how they're doing that. It's a big building. They're dissolving Parliament tomorrow, Thursday. Are you a millionaire, Adrian? Asking for a friend. My wife. Who said that? Barry, yes, you're wrong. I'm about as near to being a millionaire as you are. No. Do I wish that on anybody? No, actually, I wouldn't. Because money corrupts. And unless you've had money and know how to deal with money and know how to handle money, then it's a bit of a burden. As all these people that have won millions on the lottery. And then, what was her name? The one that was spend. Viv. She won. Diane says there's 114 in the house. Brilliant. She couldn't stand when Corbyn was done with her. Nice one. I live near Al Fayed used to live. Blimey, Barry. You've got a few bob then, because Fayed's house was like worth millions and millions. His estate. So, no, I'm not a millionaire. Wish I was. No, actually, I don't. Because there's no pockets and shrouds. I can't take it with me. Who am I going to leave it to? Charity? Viv Nicholson. Thank you, Vivian Darlow. Viv Nicholson. Oxted. Very nice. Very nice. So I literally, I can... Mind you, I wish Diane Abbott was my accountant. I probably would be a millionaire. I don't know what's going on. Neither do the politicians. Neither does the head of the Labour Party. He's come out in one of the later editions today, newspapers, and said, yeah, she can stand. Obviously, she's got the right shoes on. But isn't she type 2 diabetic? And Diane's not very well. And to be fair to Diane, I know there's a lot of people that take the mickey, but she's given a lot of service to her constituents in Hackney for 30 odd years. So, and I know that being a politician in the House of Commons is a brutal existence. That's why they get all the free beer and they get the free food and they get the free... Do you know there's even a Barber's? As you go into, if you've ever been in the House of Parliament, you'll know this. As you go into kind of the crossroads, where I watched Sir Lindsay Hoyle parade in with his mace on show. It's just a historical thing. I would have put me zip up if I'd been him. So Sir Lindsay Hoyle had come in with his mace on show, and there's a little door off to the right. It's a Barber's. Honestly, I'm not winding you up. Free haircuts for all the MPs. Obviously, not Boris Johnson. And I've seen some old video over the last few years. Oh, there you go, Stuart. Great minds think alike. Clearly, Boris hasn't been to that one then. Tom Murray, evening all. Hope you're well. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Sneak in, Tom. There may be a little altar wine left and a very slither of Battenberg left. And not Michael Fabrikant. Well, no, he takes his off and leaves it in the barber's while he goes to the pub. Because it looks like, I know, Amalia, Michael Fabrikant. Who's that? Hayden. Oh, Hayden, could you have it in the body of the Kirk? Not that you were early at all. Who's that? The Bovril. That's where Angela Rayner gets her mic muff trimmed. I bet she does. I've never seen a ginger mic muff. Maybe I should do research and do a deeper dive into that particular muff. Yeah, wrong 'un. You're just leading me astray. You know. Hang on. Lola Wilson says, what's your favourite beer? What are you doing? Buying me a dozen of them, Lola. Oh, that's very kind of you. Is it your first timer? Sounds like it. I think all the Battenberg's gone, though. Favourite beer? I think it would be the Czech Budvar. Not the American Budweiser. The original Budvar, which is Czech. Which is very nice. Very, very smooth. It does go down very well. Another comedy opening. No, I'm not taking it. No, you can make your own gags up. Paulie Galtieri, a muff. What did young Alex use as a mic? Well, he just kissed it and it grew. Whatever it was. Tarblock Tracy, ginger growler. Nice dog, by the way. So let's get into, because I can feel the vibe tonight. You're all very errant. You're all literally leading each other astray to be just utterly naughty. I've got a naughty Kirk this evening, which is fabulous. Be as naughty as you want. Hang on. Amelia Grassi says he came across as the right oddball on Celebs Go Dating or some such program. Just goes to show. Hang on. What did Rich say? Hang on. I've got to go. Fabrikant is actually a decent guy. Spoken to him a few times. Really, Rich? I'm talking about his wig. That's not real. That's not real hair. I mean, I kind of, look, it affects men in different ways. Look, I'm lucky to have kept mine for quite a while. My dad, he was as bald as a coot at 23. He'd had 3 kids by then. And obviously the stress of having, well, actually, my mum had the kids. He was just there at the conception. So, but it affected him so much that he was as baldy as, and he had a Bobby Charlton comb over. Remember that? I'm literally not going to show you a picture of that. Because as I grow up, I was just like, oh, shave it off, man. But Michael Fabrikant is, why? I mean, imagine under the lights in the comments, and I've been there, and it's a small space, and I bet it gets proper sweaty in the summer. Why? Look at Bojo. Somebody has told him, actually, Boris, it will look brilliant because you've got lovely blonde hair if you look like a Pratt. Because it would just confuse everybody. No, it didn't confuse us. Who's that, Louis Sampson? His wig looks like a mouse. There was, let me, I tell this story sparingly, talking of wigs, simply because I'm not going to mention any names whatsoever, but the dear gentleman that I'm mentioning, I actually worked with him later on, and he was Angela Rayner cleared by HMRC over claims around ex-council house sale. Ooh. We're going red. We're going left. That they're getting away with it, these idiots. So, HMRC. Have you ever had HMRC get their claws into you? They don't. They're tenacious. They don't let go. So, Angela is obviously, by the powers above, Swiss, have decided, Davos, that Klaus, have decided, no, she's fine. Just let her go. We don't care. There's bigger fish to fry. Like who? OCG Biden. DWP. Yes. Amalia. God, blimey, Amalia. They're like trying to get money out of them is like trying to get blood out of a stone. They'll try every which way not to give you any money. But if you've kept any money back from them, God, blimey, they literally would slit your throat for a fiver. But HMRC, no, Angela's fine. I wonder if anybody did any digging with young Angela. What exactly would they discover? And I'm not talking financials either. I wonder. Because I know. But I'm not going to do it here. Because literally, men in dark suits and sunglasses in the dark, in the night, would start knocking on my door. Boston Breaks technique. Well, yes, I was going to tell you a story. So I'm sure back in the day it was very similar in lots of households around the UK, where the family would gather. It was like 2 or 3 channels. This is before Channel 4. This is years and years and years ago. It's 40 odd years. I must have been, wow, it must have been the 70s, mid 70s. And you know how they had announcers on the television. And next we have Jim will fix it. Yeah, wrong. So there we go. And today, boys and girls, we're going to read some birthday cards out. And as that turned into the broom cupboard on the BBC, well, this was commercial TV, and for a man to kind of go bald back in the day, it was his virility. It was questioning his virility. It was questioning manliness. It was the 70s, where we had miners' strikes, 3-day working week, power cuts. It was all about manliness. And my dad, my mum, me and my 2 sisters were gathered into the living room for, must have been about 7 o'clock in the evening, to watch something for a couple of hours before we were sent up to bed at 9 o'clock. Rollins. And this announcer on commercial TV in the Northeast suddenly appeared in Vision to do the announcing, because they did in Vision announcing. That was what their job was. And we all looked at the TV. I think we'd only just gone colour, so it made it even worse. And the whole family, literally, as one, roared with laughter at this announcer, because he'd been going thin. And I've seen something similar for a journalist, a reporter on Sky back in the 2000s, where he had like a little Brillo pad, and then all of a sudden he's got a full, has one been away holidaying in Turkey, perchance? So anyway, this is back in the 70s. So the hair pieces, the weaves, the wigs, they were hopeless. They were naff. Even Elton John couldn't get one. And he had loads of money. So this announcer sort of comes in the screen, and we all look and roar with laughter as one, as a family. And I said, that's a bloody chihuahua on his head. Family roar with laughter again. And I was like, where did he get that from? Because literally, this bit here was thinning and there was nothing there. And then the next time he comes on the telly, there's hair up to here, like that. And it looked like a dead chihuahua on his head. And we all roared with laughter. So it was, forget the telly, we can't remember what we watched. We were roaring with laughter every time he came in, every half an hour or so, to announce what was happening next. It was, the chihuahua still there. That chihuahua, look at that chihuahua, that is some growler. And by the time we, the 3 kids, and my dad went off down at the pub to neck a few, just to kind of balance his chi, we went to bed. I was roaring with laughter. Next day at school, here, did you see so-and-so on the telly? God blimey, what did he have on his head? Wasn't a motorcycle helmet. I think it was a chihuahua. And then everybody. Yeah, exactly. Who's that? Nicholas says the remote control was the youngest kid in them days. Look, I remember Rediffusion in the Northeast. Now, I don't know, you've got to be some age to remember this. Rediffusion had a box in the corner of the room. And rather than get up and turn the telly over, Rediffusion would have all these channels. And you would get up and you'd have to turn it like a bit like a clock, really. ITV would have been sort of 11 o'clock and BBC would have been midnight, and BBC 2, if it existed at that point, would have been at 1 o'clock. Reginald Bows and Kit, exactly the same. Oh, blimey. His hair weaving piece. Do you remember when Mike Love from the Beach Boys tried to hide his baldness? Andrew, I kind of get it. Being in the public eye, you just Reginald Bosanquet, R.A.P. wore a nice wig. I know, Alan. I know. 60s cable TV. Yeah, it was called Rediffusion. That was actually the firm, Rediffusion, and it was piped in, and it was in the corner. It was modern technology. Honestly, we just landed men on the moon, and we got Rediffusion, and we were like, whoa! And then we got colour TV for Sunderland in the FA Cup in 1973, and we were like, whoa, look at that, it's colour, it's not black and white, look at that, you can see their skin and everything. So, to the person earlier says, are you a millionaire? So Terry Wogan wore his well. No, I'm not a millionaire, never. I brought him on a council estate. So I remember the box on the back. Terry Wogan got away with it. I mean, everybody knew. There are still some. But I look at Michael Fabrikant, to get back on topic here, Ron. I look at Michael Fabrikant and I think, Michael, man, just, we had a little Pauline, we had a little white box behind the curtain. I think it would have been Rediffusion, or it might have been another company that was exactly the same. So it had like a dial that you just moved. But Fabrikant needs to just ditch the wig. Just ditch the wig. We all know it's fake, but as Rich says earlier, somebody, he's a nice guy, super nice guy. And we kind of get that. But in Parliament, Bojo, he's not using the hairdressers, barbers. And I don't get why Bojo wanted to be different. He just came across as a clown. Maybe that's what he needed to get away with some of the stuff that he got away with, and he got away with loads. And there's Rich Boy Soaked said today, oh, Boris was coming back. Yeah, Boris will be here for the election. It's a really dirty race this time around, 2024 general election. It's really dirty, really nasty. I mean, I'm not in it, so I don't particularly care. And politicians can get whatever they get. But can I ask you, this is not a question with a 1 and 2, but I just generally want to ask you, do you not think that things are feeling a bit weird at the moment? They have done for weeks. There's no up and down, no straight up and down. Wig boy Sunak. I've got more hair on my sphericals than he's got on the top of his head. It'll be filthy when Rayner gets in. Yeah? Oh, she's, I mean, I've seen the video of her and some of her electorate, and she's begging, no, honest, no, can we have your votes, please? And then looking at her. In fact, I think, no, I can't say that. I would hope that she had protection with her, because they were looking at her with a little disdain. Yes, we'll do anything. Yes, we'll recognise Palestine as a state. Oh my word! How incendiary is that? The Labour Party are anti-Semites. You can't get rid of that. You can kind of wash the Labour Party as much as you want, but you can't get rid of the anti-Semitism that is absolutely hundreds of years deep in the Labour Party. I know they've only been around just over 100. But I remember being in York. This will be 5-6 years ago. And they were calling, so the Labour Party were running a march in York. And there's a couple of things that I really, really dislike. 1, liars, and 2, injustice. A thief is just as bad. Rich, is it anti-Semitic or anti-Israel? Anti-Israeli. Good question. I think if the Jews of the world are affected, then it's anti-Semitic. It may be that it's just directed at what's going on in Gaza. So technically anti-Israeli, which would be xenophobia. But it's still anti-Semitic, it's racism. And I've had quite deep discussions around anti-Semitism and racism, and how a lot of people don't understand that anti-Semitism is racism. It's not xenophobia. xenophobia is xenophobia, and that would be anti-Israeli. But so I was in York, and there was this massive march going on in York. And as I say, I hate injustice, I hate liars, I hate thieves. But there was all these scum-sucking pond life standing in York, and there was a few hundred of them. And I walked past them when the new Mrs. Allen wasn't Mrs. Allen. And they were shouting that Donald Trump was racist. And I was like, you're a bunch of fucking anti-Semites. How can you call somebody else racist? Look at your own home. So the heads all started turning towards me. And the new Mrs. Allen was like, come on, let's leave. No, I'll not really take them all on. What's wrong with them? They're anti-Semites. They're a bunch of racists. And remember, I was a card-carrying member of the Labour Party in Sunderland back in the day when I was in my teens. Kay Webster says, I agree completely. Love the southwest of France. Wait till they're having the Euros and the Olympics in the same year. Imagine. Liars, thieves and injustice. Correct, Lauren. So when somebody's going, Donald Trump's a racist. Well, hang on a second. Right, how many of you? 400 of you against me? Fair odds, to be fair. I just started telling them, you're anti-Semites. A lot of you, anti-Semites. But at that point, it could have been that I was inciting. So the cops could have lifted me and I could have been away. Because they would have sided with the 400 because there was more of them than there was of me. But these idiots are going to possibly get into power. And we will talk about this. But there's loads of things that are feeling really weird. And I can't identify it. Look, I can identify when Black Swan event's going to happen. We've still got 6 months of this year. And I think I know what's going to come. Skegness is nice. Bovril. But there's a weirdness around things. And I do believe that it was born out of the pandemic and the lockdowns. Because everybody came out of that very nervy, the things that gave us stability were no longer there. The poor kids who had to stay off school and miss their mates and have their stability and their growth and evolution, none of that. Interesting, Hayden. Hayden says, still say Keir Starmer is hiding an illness with him stumbling over his words in PMQs. Are you sure he just hadn't been on the fall down juice? I mean, it's virtually free in the House of Parliament. Be interesting, because I do know categorically Sir Keir's been to Davos. He's been out to the World Economic Forum. They all have. If you look at Matt Hancock, Richie Sunak, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, Mandy Mandelson, Keir Starmer, some of the shadow cabinet, they've all been out there. It's just very easy to control politicians because they love a bunce. They love a little brown envelope with a few grand in it, or a free holiday here, or like Tony Blair went to Cliff Richard's mansion in the Caribbean for a little holiday. I mean, I saw, I know you're talking about GB Patriot says to Toadblock Tracy, Olympics will be a shit show, not even having a proper opening ceremony. Are they not, GB Patriot? Oh! Frenchman. Couldn't organise a peel in a brewery. Nice health service, better than ours, but they're the Frenchman. And I do have French friends. I've had French girlfriends in the past. And I had some very close friends that still live in France. And although I'm flippant in what I say, it is... Everyone around the world is exactly the same as you and I. They may speak a different language. They may come from a different culture. But ultimately, they are still the same. We are all merely cannon fodder that are being used by these politicians because they have the power to. And they don't care. They really don't care. Especially if Rich Boy Soaked can... Who's that? Alan, you're wrong. Yeah, I've written to friends. I've written and had French letters myself. So Alan says he's used loads of French letters in his time. So there's Rich Boy Soaked, made 120 million in the last year. How does that work then? How does Infosys get involved in the Rwanda scheme? How does that work then? How does AI businesses ball deep with the Israeli intelligence services that also just happen to be part of the Rich Boy Soaked extended family? How does that work? And let me tell you something else. So you know, Rich Boy Soaked is that little Indian, the Southampton supporter. He's been asked, "Oh, are you leaving? Are you leaving? You know, when you lose the general election, are you going? Are you leaving?" And he's like, "No, my team's in the Premiership. I'm going to be going to see them." Well, the amount of money that boy's got, he can have a private jet from California straight over here, go and watch the match, and then fly on a plane back. It's like getting on the 56 bus. See, I mean, Elvis is still driving that in Wigan. So I was going to tell you something. Yes. So let me tell you how this spider's web works. You have Rich Boy Soaked standing on the steps of 10 Downing Street, getting an absolute soaking, as if like thousands of people were peeing on him. Didn't have such a thing as a brolly. Where's my umbrella? Ella, Ella. Yeah, I agree with that. Rich Boy Soaked might be good at dribbling, but not with a football. Well, he's got 2 kids. So if you look at the spider's web, you've got Rich Boy in the shop window, and you have the wife, who's the power base. Because remember when he went to see Charles, the new king, and asked him, "Hey, Your Majesty, can I form a government, mate?" Who's saying that? Why don't you stand up and say that? "I am, Your Royal Highness. That's why you called Your Royal Highness, because you're higher up than me. I'm only 5'8". What are you talking about, man? Jockey height, cock height, Sunak." So he's the shop window, and he has the deniability of all of his extended family's business interests. But here's the kicker: his mother-in-law never upset the mother-in-law. Never, ever, ever. Because she'll... all the lads know what I'm talking about. Never, ever, ever upset the mother-in-law. But this is an interesting mother-in-law, because the father-in-law is like multi-billionaire. But the missus is the power. I've told you before. Rich landed gentry families, they have the firstborn will look after the money. The second-born goes into the clergy, because that's where the power was. So they would have the money and they would have the power. But this, Infosys, its web travels the whole globe. But that's not where it gets interesting. The Mrs. Murty is also a politician in India. She became a politician in India last year, so they get the game. They know the game. Rich Boy, he was shoehorned into the Richmond seat for the Tories because he's very rich. Very, 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 almost a billionaire. Look, when he suddenly started coming onto our radar, they were like, "Oh yeah, he's a billionaire. He's a billionaire. His missus worth a few bob." So he takes the missus to see King Charles. Why? Are you not man enough, Rich Boy, just to say to the missus, "Oi, wind your neck in, pipe down, you're not coming to the palace with me. I'm Prime Minister, man. I'm doing my job. Leave us alone. I'm going to do my job." But you want to know who the Murtys are in bed with? And why I know that Rich Boy is at the top table for those that are deciding what's going to go on? Not only is Mrs. Murty, or Ms. Murty, a politician, she's also brassiere deep with the Gates Foundation. Now, none of the mainstream media are telling you that. I am categorically telling you now, because it's there if you go looking for it. Let me just write that down, because Stuart's just said something that I want to reference. So, Mrs. Marty, father-in-law, mother-in-law, she's in bed with the Gates Foundation. What the bloody hell would she want to be in bed with the Gates Foundation for? And how much money? Alan says, I knew you were going to say Gates, not surprised. What a tangled web we weave, if at first we practice to deceive. Shakespeare. Right, I've made a note, Stuart. I will get to that in a second. So they're all in bed together, because at that level, money doesn't mean anything. They have so much money, it doesn't mean anything. Might do to me and you. Want to buy a new car, or a new pied a terre, or money doesn't matter. That's why the royal family, they won't tell you this, but that's why people turn up with plastic shopping bags full of cash. And you can bet your sweet Bibby that the royal family, if they want to say to the banks, oh, hello, got a couple of mil, would you mind awfully just depositing this cash in my account, please? And the bank will go, oh, yes, your majesty, yeah, yes, on behalf of the, yeah, no problem, no problem. I'm telling you, the rules are to keep you and I in our place. Let's talk about one of those rules, shall we? Because while you're, oh, Love Island is coming back on TV, I would rather stab my eyes out than watch that shite. Yeah, exactly, GB Patriot. I'd rather be skint and healthy than rich and ill. I'm with you. I'm completely with you. Because ultimately, they're all going to go to a place which is rather warm, and there's no escaping it. So, whilst everything's been going on in the newspapers and the propaganda peddlers, sorry I'm late, Adrian. Who's that? Super Ted, man, yeah, wrong. And Battenberg's gone. The altar wine's definitely been supped. There's none of that left, unless anybody's got the odd can of something enlivening with them that you can scrounge off them. But Super Ted, still good to have you in the body of the Kirk. You have missed a bit. So good to have you here. So they don't care. They literally don't care. And they literally would want you to eat crickets and shite, because it's funny to them. They don't care. They get their, shits and giggles and from just abusing you. But the World Health Organization, and I said quite a few months ago that you needed to keep an eye on, coming up in May, that we're going to try and ratify the new World Health Organization. Jesus, I can't say it. Hang on. I need some sustenance. Oh, you can't even get the staff. What's she? Where's me mug? Oh, there. Ugh. Me wrong and mug's disappeared. That's why it's in the Big Ben. Let me just take some sustenance while I get this thing out of my eye. Go live YouTube. Oh, that's better. So the World Health Organization, the WHO, not the ho-ho, they failed to reach a consensus on the draft of their controversial Plandemic Treaty, because we've already had one. So after 2 years of negotiations, the treaty aimed to centralise plandemic management. You don't say. No shit, Sherlock. Giving the WHO unprecedented power over lockdowns, vaccinations, border closures and other measures. So literally the WHO would have been telling our government to tell you and I, you can't travel, you can't move, no, you're going to have jibber jabber, 10 of them. There's going to be a lockdown for the next 3 years, so you're going to have to eat crickets. We're going to close all the shops, you can't buy any food. That's it. We are the WHO, we are the WHO, and we're in charge. You think I'm joking? Several countries, politicians and experts opposed the power grab, arguing that it would undermine democratic rights and sovereignty. Damn right. A watered-down version of the treaty was presented to address concerns, but experts still warned of a potential gradual power shift. Now, a Dutch MEP, Rob Roos, campaigned against the treaty, citing concerns about transferring power to China and big pharma lobbyists. Can you see where we're going with this? And the folly of implementing a one-size-fits-all policy across different countries and cultures. Now, the WHO chief, Tedros, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his surname. I wish he was called Alan, it would have been easier. Remained confident that a consensus would be reached in the future. Which part of Foxtrot Oscar doesn't this idiot understand? This clown has just been told Foxtrot Oscar pretty much by the whole world, and he still doesn't get it. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, we'll reach a consensus in the future. No, we bloody wouldn't. The Rev is a pinball wizard. Oh, I say, who's that? Des Ashton. You're far too kind, Des. Now, the specific reasons for the failed negotiations were not officially disclosed, obviously, and diplomats cited differences in willingness to share information and technologies. Everybody, hang on. Kate Webster, Dan Aston Gregory, leading a convoy road to Geneva for free humanity. Very interesting, Kate. Let me know more, please. I'd like to read that. So, this whole World Health Organization treaties to make sure that we did as we were told, and the minute, you can absolutely guarantee, the minute that they had it ratified and signed by UN or Europe, because Europe are behind all this. Europe, don't forget. And just as a little aside, watch my lips. Keir Starmer is going to have Great Britain back into Europe quicker than you can say Diane Abbott shagged Jeremy Corbyn. I'm telling you. Is Jeremy... yeah, nearly. Freudian. Is Keir Starmer not scaring you yet? He's going to have us... Look, it was the whole country was divided. It's been divided since. Those that voted to stay, and it didn't, got H5N1. Yeah, I agree with you, Sunflower. That's maybe the Black Swan event. But that's what they're after. That's why they wanted it all ratified now, so that when they release the... and remember, bird flu... As I said to you earlier, this is a stream of consciousness. You're going to have to hold on because there's a lot of information in this, and you might have to watch this twice. Can you remember when it was a bat at a wet market in Wuhan that just blew the whole world up? Can you not remember? Foot and mouth. That was a Chinese takeaway at a farm in Northumberland. Can you see what they're doing? And H5N1, bird flu. What was that? Was that another takeaway? They're at it. Oh, and here's something. Now, I was going to do, and I may do another video, separate video, because I've also worked something else out. Why is Tony Blair getting the Blair Foundation? Why is he getting some of the advisors to the government that were advising the government on the pandemic and the lockdown and the jibber jabber and the Charlie 19? Why would he have those experts? It's all right, I'm going to give you the answer. And why would he have very high-ranking members of the European glitterati? And why would he have people who have insane influence? And how many millions has he, Tony Blair, taken from Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation? I'll leave it to your own, but he's taken a few million from Gates. Why would he do that? Because he's bollock deep in everything. So why is he setting himself up? Why? Retro and his bikes is in the body of the Kirk. Welcome, Retro. Ahoy, ahoy. Why would Tony Blair want to have all these experts on the Blair Foundation's board? because he's at it. He's going to be telling you. Because remember, he's called me and you idiots. Look, I don't know whether you took the jibber jabber or not. And as I've said many times before on these lives, I'm not here to judge anyone. You did what you thought was right. Mind you, Blair did that when he bombed the heck out of Iraq and the Middle East. I was just doing what I thought was right. It was a clear and present danger. No, it wasn't. It was Alistair Campbell. He nicked some... No, don't say that, Adrian. Very good, very good. So keep an eye on Blair, because I'm telling you this. Blair is setting himself up so that when Starmer gets into power, Starmer will outsource certain things via the Tony Blair Foundation. Can't you see this? Starmer doesn't want tainted with the brown stuff. He doesn't want to be seen as a pretty poor wartime leader. Or tea figure. I think I need another cup, to be fair. Tony Blair. Adrian Hagrid. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, Amalia. But Tony Blair is setting himself up as the deniability front. He's setting it up so that Starmer can outsource whatever he needs to outsource to the Blair Foundation so that the Blair Foundation takes care of things. Starmer's going to end up being, well, I know that Andrew Bridgen did it for likes and clicks. But Andrew Bridgen said, oh yeah, we're already at war with Russia. No, we're not. We're not. The pipeline in northern Russia, that wasn't Putin. That wasn't Russia that blew it up. Yeah, Blair, world leader, wants Klaus' job. Of course. But the was it Norden? That was in the presenter. It'll be all right on the night. The Nord pipeline, the northern pipeline in Russia, it was blown up. It was the bloody CIA. It was America that did it and went, oh, look, somebody's blown that up. Must have been Putin. Telling you, must have been Putin. And then Biden woke up and went, what day is it? Where am I? White House. What's that then? Oh, I'm president. I thought I was vice president. How did I become president? Give him more Colombian marching powder. Nord Stream. Thank you, Terry. I knew you would help. The Nord Stream pipeline. It was blown up, not by Russia, not by Putin, the CIA. And Louise is saying all of this scares me. I understand that completely, Louise. And sometimes all of this stream of consciousness that we have on these lives are very unpalatable subjects. But all I try to do is give it in its simplest form and give you an opportunity to see that there are options. Now, I know what's coming on July 4th. The Tories want back in. And yes, of course, they want back in. And why would they want to be back in? Because they don't care. They're just raping this country. And if you look at the water companies, and I was reading some articles on them today, they are so corrupt, and the politicians are not doing anything about it. They've literally gone to the government and said, we've got no money. What do you mean you've got no money? Well, we've got no money for the infrastructure. You'd have to give us some money. Hang on a second. How much money have you been making while we've been not watching? Oh, well, we've made a few, Bill. Right. And what have you done with that? Dunno. What do you mean you don't know? I'm not going to send you to the corner of the classroom and call you a dunce. Just tell me you've borrowed money against the water companies and future profits, and you've given those billions that you've borrowed to the shareholders as dividends. And what's happened to the billions that were meant to be for the infrastructure of the water companies that we privatized? Yeah, the dividends. Sunflower dividends. That's where all the billions went. And the water companies are sitting there going, ha, 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 can't touch us. You can't touch us. If you need to sort this out, you'll have to go to the taxpayer. Oh, just tell the taxpayer you're going to put an extra 10p in the pound on tax. They don't. It's corrupt. It's absolute corruption. Water and energy companies, nearly all foreign-owned and asset stripped now. I agree with you. But the politicians will have been given a backhander, a nice little brown envelope with tens of thousands in it. I know, all the profits have been spunked up the wall, dividends given to shareholders. Still. And the water companies are turning around and going, no, don't know what you're talking about. No. Is that Pauline Makepeace? Yeah, Pauline says, wow, had a huge fight with Severn Trent about flooding in the early 2000s. Well, they've literally just taken all the money that it's being given from the customers that they needed to reinvest in some of the infrastructure. The water companies, they've not. They've passed it on as dividends and profits to the shareholders. And yet me and you, Thames Water in the SH12 over not paying back 190 million loan. Oi, yeah, just get the just the taxpayer will pay. That's the way it works. So the Tories over the last 14 years of just the transfer of wealth over the last 4 years is mind-boggling. They're doing it in America. So why has America done exactly the same thing? And Tower Block Tracy says the Royal Mail being sold to a Czech billionaire. Yeah, for $3.5 billion. So it was sold off to a private concern. That private concern's now selling it, I presume, at a profit. But thankfully, the Post Office and Royal Mail are two different companies. The Post Office couldn't be sold off because they're proper in the brown stuff because of the Horizon IT scandal. Alan says, I'm Anglian Water, earned about 30k a year, but the chief executive officer was on 1.5 million. Nice. I mean, if you look at Paula Venables for the Post Office, she's made millions in bonuses, in pay. Can't get website to you here, Adrian. We'll email your website address with all the info. Brilliant, Kate. Thank you very much. joustingarena@gmail.com. Thank you very much. And they're just stripping. So the transfer of wealth, if you look at America, because it's easier to see. So Joe Biden, corrupt as corrupt can be, in my view. Let's see what's on Hunter's laptop, shall we? Apart from the crack, the whores, and the millions flooding into the Biden family accounts. Wow, Pauline. Sewage ended up in my kitchen. I'm so sorry to hear that. But the water companies, what on earth makes so valuable to get so much pay, said Fred. I've no idea. There's Paula Venables. Millions, made millions in pay. And bonuses, millions. And yet can go to an inquiry and sit there and start crying. Does she know that God knows? Because she's an ordained minister. Does Paula Venables? Oh, bless you, Pauline. I just had a disabled baby. Whoa, it just makes you angry. These scum-sucking pond life. And they all need to be, look, let's build jails until they're going out of fashion. Literally, let's start building jails until this island sinks a couple of feet into the North Sea and the Irish Sea, and so we can put all of them away. All of them. Oh, it was you, was it? Bang! 25 years. No, you can appeal it if you want. Just makes lawyers rich. But if you appeal it, we'll double it. Oh, how much did you make? 10 million in all. Brilliant. You can give that to charity, you scum-sucking pond life, and you can foxtrot Oscar, we're putting you in jail. Because the only people that are making any money out of this are the lawyers. I've told you before. Even lawyers don't like each other. Who's that? Andrew James says, heard the Thames Water can't keep up with infrastructure and demand, so fresh water is mixed with wastewater. And this is not coming out. This is not coming out before we get to the general election. So, and I've said to you before, I do believe that you need to stand in that booth and do not vote with party politics. Vote with your heart and your conscience. I will. I'll be looking at all of them, all of the candidates on my polling card, and I will decide who I think is best for my community, not party politics, because party politics is how the political classes have manoeuvred you into susceptibility. The corruption and evil is rife, says Amalia. I agree with you, Amalia. But you've got the WHO, you've got all the water companies, you've got the politicians lying. I mean, you've got... So I've got Claire Rayner in my head. She was the agony aunt from the telly. Angela Rayner. So the cops drop Angela Rayner probe. Of course they did! Of course! She's just doing their bidding. This is not ordinary power. This is not soft power like the royals. This is hard and aggressive power. Do as you are told. Otherwise, there will be repercussions. For example, the junior doctors have decided to strike. The junior doctors, they're at it again, man. I mean, how much money do these thieves want? 5 days before the general election. There's a very simple solution to this. Sack them. Sack them. Get rid of them. Tell them to Foxtrot Oscar they can go to Australia or they can go to Canada. Then let's see how they like it. They're thieving shites. So they'll stand there and go, oh, yes, I'm junior doctor, not a bloody consultant. Just do as you're told. Sack them! Who's got the sphericals 5 days before the general election to come out and say, do you know the junior doctors who are putting people's lives at risk? Well, they're on strike. So what we've done is we've sacked a lot of them. All of them, they can go and sweep the streets. We don't give a flying because we've trained them. The British taxpayer has paid for their training, their schooling. Yeah, all right, some of the university fees might be theirs, but just sack them. Who's that? Rob says, oh, don't send them here to Australia. No, we've sent a few crooks there in our time. Sorry, Rob. Welcome. And the junior doctors, they think that they've got the government by their little sphericals. Well, there would be little if they were rich boy soaked. The whole... Yeah, exactly. 57 doctors stepped off a rubber boat today. All we've got to do is just say as a collective, enough. We don't want this anymore. We've had enough of your shenanigans. How much are you being paid a year? Oh, about 100 and odd grand. And you're striking? And the NHS is being sold off piecemeal to private companies and private doctors. And these junior doctors are working in a system that's going to make them millionaires eventually. Oh, you don't think that that is on the cards? How much do you think a consultant makes? And how much do you think a consultant's going to make when the NHS has to outsource to his company a hip replacement or, I don't know, oncology? Very topical at the moment. So if they've got all these private companies that are springing up that will take profit out of the amount of money that the NHS outsources various procedures for, why does a company have to take profit? Why can't the NHS run profitably? And the junior doctors are going on strike. Oi, Hadaway and shite. Hadaway and shite, man. Junior doctors, hoy them in the North Sea. Or even better, we've got a whole load of dinghies coming up on the Kent beach. Put them on there and go, right, Australia's that way. Or you can go that way over to Canada. Your choice. And they'll get there and go, holy shit, man. It's worse here than it is in England. Exactly. Rich, a couple of weeks ago, asked me to do a bit of a deeper dive about Julian Assange. And I think, Rich, you must be psychic, because a couple of days ago, the Donald, came out. Not out, just out. And said, well, in my view, this is me speaking now, legal experts are voicing hope and caution after London's High Court ruling last week, which allowed WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to appeal his extradition to the United States. Now, remember when, WikiLeaks was publishing all this stuff, and Hillary Clinton was going absolutely nuts at what WikiLeaks was publishing. Absolutely apoplectic with rage because she was being found out. And Willie the Wanderer, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Well, it's all over her bloody dress then. Let's have a DNA test. See what was on the dress or not. Willie, mate. And oh, by the way, your mate, Epstein, not Brian, he was the manager of the Beatles. Jeffrey, the wrong'un, the rapist, the one that was jailed. What are you doing in a blue dress in a painting in his house? Willie by nature. So she was apoplectic with rage when Julian Assange was publishing stuff. But now he's able to appeal his extradition. The judges have assessed that the issues raised by the Assange legal team had sufficient legal merit that they were suitable for determination by the Court of Appeal, which is brilliant news for Julian Assange. It's been going on for years. I mean, can you imagine the sphericals on the boy? They must be the size of beach balls. He's got steel running through his spine. They haven't done him. Can you imagine if we had a dozen Julian Assanges in this country who absolutely stood up for the courage of their convictions? Can you imagine? And then the Don, big bad Don, came out. Not out, just out. And said he will give very serious consideration to pardoning Julian Assange if he is re-elected US president. And it's a kind of a shoo-in unless something nefarious happens to the Don. So Julian Assange, the Australian, is currently in prison in the UK pending an appeal against his extradition to the US, where he faces charges over material published on his WikiLeaks website. You bet your sweet baby they weren't happy with him at all. Now, the US Justice Department asked Britain to extradite Mr. Assange in 2019, 5 years ago, when Donald Trump was president, and the matter has been tied up in the British courts ever since. The president, 45, Trump, was asked about his case by a podcaster, Tim Pool, who recorded an interview with the former president before he addressed the Libertarian Party's National Convention in Washington at the weekend. Will you pardon Julian Assange? The podcaster asked the former president. And President Trump responded, well, I'm going to talk about that today, and we're going to give it very serious consideration. And we're going to have a couple of other things to say in the speech that I think you're going to love. Are you aware that the incoming president or the incoming presidential candidate starts getting presidential briefings 6 months before they could take the actual presidency? So in July, in a few weeks, the Donald will start to get briefed on everything. We'll start to get the same briefing that Joe Biden gets. Because obviously America is very adept and knows that if the Don gets in, he needs to know what's going on. If Biden gets in and they wake him up, then he's still got to know what's going on. Or are they just going to brief former President Barack Obama? So the Donald will know everything from July. Oh, can you imagine what he's going to start talking about? So today in America, I will continue with the Donald for a moment, and I will get back to Catherine. Can't remember who it was that asked this question, but I will give you my take. So jurors in Donald Trump's historic criminal trial have begun deliberations. I don't know whether you've been watching it unfold the last few hours. The 12 New Yorkers must reach a unanimous verdict, except the judge has said it doesn't have to be unanimous now. A verdict could come at any time and the former president could be convicted, acquitted, or there could be a mistrial. Election interference, anyone? The court has heard from 22 witnesses over 6 weeks, including Stormy Daniels, whose alleged sexual encounter with the former president is at the centre of this case. Now, Trump is accused of concealing a payment made to the former adult film star for her silence shortly before the 2016 election. Now, it's not illegal to give somebody money in America. It's not illegal to give somebody money for silence. It's not illegal. But seemingly, the Democrats think it is. So, former President Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records and denies any sexual encounter with her. I don't think she's going to forget that one. Prosecutors accuse former President Trump of an elaborate scheme, while the defense called the other side's star witness, Michael Cohen, the MVP of liars. So they haven't really, the prosecutors haven't been able to identify what they're actually prosecuting him for. The judge has come out and gone, yeah, take as long as you want, take as long as you want. And he's been buttering up varying jurors. He was talking about juror number 3 and number 4 just before I came on air. So the judge has been, what can I say? In fact, I won't say anything. Well, actually, the trial's finished. So it's down to the jurors. The jurors are locked away. The jurors won't see any media whatsoever. So I'll just say that the judge is buttering them up. It is the first time in history that a US president, former or current, William Bill, didn't get that, did he? No, I didn't have sexual relations with that woman. Even Nixon, Dick, to his mates, Dick Nixon didn't get, yes, no, well, whatever. Watergate, mate. Mind you, we might need you over here because our utility companies are shite. Watergate. So, you know, Nixon, Obama, he was killing more blacks than all kinds of stuff, all kinds of corruption. It comes with the office, I think. So imagine if they sentence Trump to a prison sentence just for your entertainment and information. Presidential nominees can canvass from prison. Doesn't matter if they go to prison. If they're the presidential nominee, they're the presidential nominee. But if he goes to prison for any length of time, that would inevitably mean the whole of the country would go, whoa, hang on a second, and his poll rating would go through the roof. So I think the Democrats have been foolhardy in trying to take him to court and trying to get him into prison. They say he possibly, if he does go, he goes to Rikers Island. Now, Secret Service agents have met with local jail officials to prepare for the possibility of former President Donald Trump being incarcerated if he is found guilty in this criminal trial in Manhattan. Now, all former presidents, until, including Jimmy Carter until recently, they get lifetime protection by Secret Service personnel. So can you imagine? So former president, and I do not wish this on him at all. I do wish him well and a long life, and I do hope that they don't put him in prison. But can you imagine if you're a special branch in the UK and you have to protect rich boy Sunak? Oh, lads, I'm off to California. Yeah, former Prime Minister, rich boy. He gets lifetime protection, but this detail gets to go to California in the sunshine. The poor security detail with Donald Trump, they'll have to go into Rikers Island. He'll have to have like a cell next door, bunk beds, obviously. Now, Trump's trial centred on falsification of business records. It could result in a prison sentence of up to 4 years per charge. 34 counts. Honestly. Despite the Secret Service preparations, the presiding judge has expressed reluctance to jail Trump, considering alternatives like probation or house arrest due to the complexities of imprisoning a former president. So what are they doing then? What are they doing? Just trying him just to go, he's guilty. Don't vote for him. He's guilty. And all the American people are going to go, whoa, the Department of Justice is corrupt. I'm going to vote for Trump. They're shooting themselves in the foot. I swear to goodness. And one of the trial highlights over the last 6 weeks, Robert De Niro, raging bullshit. He's nuts. He's proper nuts. But there's a dark side. to young, raging bull shit. Bob De Niro. He's been involved in some stuff, including the flight logs to Jeffrey Epstein's island. Retro saying, why do they hate Trump so much? It's not necessarily the electorate in America that hates Trump. It's the political classes, because he's, as far as they're concerned, the Antichrist. They don't want him upsetting their apple cart. They don't want Trump stopping their freebies, their freeloading, all the money. There's Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, who earns over 100 grand a year, just. She's made another 20 million. Another 20 million. Insider trading, no doubt, in my view. I'd love to know what she's betting on, because I'd stick my 50p with her. She's making 20 million out of nothing. So all the political classes in America just want him gone. I mean, if you want an indicator, watch Kevin Spacey in House of Cards. Oh, brilliant. Robert De Niro's waiting, talking. You talking to me? De Niro's just become a dad again in his 80s. Can you remember when we were kids and we were at school, and invariably you had to go to you had to go in front of somebody who would go, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And everybody was kind of leaving the class and going having a 10, 15-minute talk with him. Careers advisor. And the careers advisor would go, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to go into the army. Oh, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be, I don't know, I want to make lots of money somehow. So the teacher said to me, Alan, your turn, off you go. So I sits down in front of the careers officer. And she says to me, so, Adrian, what would you like to go into? What would you like to be when you grow up? I said, Charlie Chaplin. And she said, Charlie Chaplin, the film star? Yes. Oh, you want to go into showbiz? I said, no, I want to be knocking kids out when I'm 85. True story. No wonder they just wanted rid of me in school. True, genuinely, true story. I'm laughing my cap off. Wikivideo says one lad in my class said he wanted to be a pimp. You should have seen the look on that career officer's face. I said window dresser. Did you, Pauline? Window dressers are brilliant. I bet she had to go and there's no Wikipedia. There's none of that. She probably had to check somewhere that Charlie Chaplin was knocking kids out at 85. He was at 86. Anyway, let's continue with this stream of consciousness. Do you know that ABBA may turn up at Glastonbury? Now, I'm not quite sure whether this is like the avatars. Avatars. Or whether it's... have you heard of something called dog oil? I'm just reminded of that yesterday. Who was that? Popeye Wazza. Stitching knickers. Didn't go down well. I bet they didn't. If you'd been stitching them. You're all very funny this evening. Very funny. Wonderful. In the body of the Kirk, having a bit of light relief. There's nothing better than, you know, when I was travelling as an executive, obviously. And they said, what would you like, Adrian? I said, oh, I would like a little executive light relief, please. Left or right hand? So ABBA could be playing Glastonbury, but it's eventually going to get to like 10, 15 years where you're not going to have real people at Glastonbury. You're just going to have these avatars. Who said I quite fancy an avatar? You're just Des Ashton. Des is such a wrong. And who's that? Popeye Wazza says I wanted to be an adult by mistake. I know this adulting thing. I'm not a fan. Can we all go back? Go back. I wanted to just very quickly mention what the actual foxtrot is Nigel Farage up to. I can't work it out. So he's not standing as an MP. he's president or chief exec or high Hegian. I am higher wronging for liking Agneta. No, I'm with you, Alan. I'm with you. I do. What can I? Please forgive me, but it's just a reference point. But the Abbott girls were the first time that I found out what camel toe was, because it was like, oh, I say, I can see what they've had for breakfast, and this was back in the 70s. But they were got me through puberty. So what the actual is Nigel Farage up to? Let's leave Abbott to one side. Super troopers. And it's those multicoloured purple bodysuit things that they were wearing. I mean, the whole world kind of looked at them. And if I may be so bold, as a young boy coming from the northeast, I used to think, wow, they're Swedish. Wow, they're so, they're so evolved as a country that they give their blonde one and dark one, they allow them to come out, and then everybody look at that. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. And I just thought, I mean, Sweden was, it was, it was so out there compared to Sunderland, let me tell you. There wasn't a blonde in Sunderland. Well, airplane blonde, if you wish. But, Vice President Camel Toe Harris, really? Well, you get to a certain age, but these were young girls in their 20s, I think, maybe late 20s, early 30s. And they were Sweden was so, you couldn't go there. It was so out there. I'm from some backwater in Sunderland. And I just remember seeing it on Top of the Pops thinking, GB Patriot, I laid on it and then felt like somebody else. I used to listen to shortwave radio as a kid and thought Stockholm and Tirana was exotic. I know. And like people from Sweden, they were having, multiple partners. They were so urbane, I think is the word I'm looking for. They were so urbane. And I was thinking, wow, look at the Abbott girls. Look. I mean, now they're pensioners. I'm going to be respectful. Genuinely, I've just had 10 gags go through. Yeah, free love, Alan. 10 gags go through my head, and I'm going to be respectful. But don't. Honestly, you're just going to make me do naughty things. Rich says, Garage is trying to get his name about in the UK elections before going off to the US to promote Trump. I know that's what I was, the point I was going to get to, Rich. I don't understand why he's doing this. But maybe he said that Farage is open to an election deal with Rich Boy, but demands something in return. So is this guy grifting? I mean, he's got all of his millions now. The one question on the tip of my tongue is, did you short the NatWest shares, Nige? Did you? Who shorted the NatWest shares, Nige? Nobody is asking him that question. So how can he go from having $1 million or $2 million to having $1 million or $4 million or $5 million? So now he qualifies for a Coots bank account. Who shorted the NatWest stock? So there's horse trading Farage. He's not willing to put the graft in, as in go into the House of Parliament and then maybe get chosen for all the work that you get done and you go into the House of Lords. What is he after? Is he after reform, helping the Tories stay in power, and then have the Tories put him in the House of Lords? Is he going to go across to the Don and go, Donald, yes, what do you want me to do, Donald? How much are you going to give me? So let's have a look at what's not in the news. I know we've talked quite a bit about this stream of consciousness tonight, but what is not in the news? Let me tell you. Did you know that the mainstream media hardly touched the story that was in Sheffield? And I saw the videos, the bank holiday weekend. What was going on? Because some idiots, obviously not of this parish, but some idiots decided that they wanted to take the Hells Angels on in a fight. Does anybody want to tell them? Those boys don't mess about, and they have not done for 50 years. I won't go too much into detail to what I know, but There were bikers. So I'd seen all of the stuff kicking off from the Saturday on the Sunday. The videos going on social media. None of the media in the Sunday newspapers covered it. None of the media on the Monday covered it. But I saw the videos on doing the rounds on the social media, and there were biker convoys heading to Sheffield after reports of attacks on Hell's Angels and a club there by refugees. Now, obviously, they've not got an education. They don't understand the subtleties of this sceptred isle. But there's one set of or group of boys you don't mess with. You don't. Because they don't hold back. So I think there should be a refugee count in Sheffield to see how many's gone and disappeared. And further violence was expected on the Monday. 25 arrests were made after a large-scale fight. I mean, it's just your average Saturday night in some towns around England. But there is something going on at the moment. It feels like, I mean, I've seen loads of road rage. I've seen everybody's at everybody else's throats. The Black Widow gang, I agree, Alan. It's just, so it all lifted and kicked off because a bunch of refugees, asylum seekers if you wish, decided to pick on the Hells Angels gang because the asylum seekers thought that they're dead hard. I mean, so the Hells Angels just ride into town and go, hello, lads. What's going on here then? You've done what? Right, okay. We'll deal with this. You're from the media? All right, off you go. Just nothing to see here. And I bet the cops were shitting themselves. Because you think the police can deal with stuff like this? No, they can't. There's lawlessness in this sceptred isle. And certain forces acknowledge that in London, parts of Scotland, parts of Yorkshire and Sheffield. Can you imagine? Hang on, which one would that be? South Yorkshire? Those boys would have pitched up and done it for a laugh. The word would have gone round. And they would have, once it kicked off on Saturday, the word would have gone round and they all would have pitched up on the Sunday. Hello, lads, how are you? Yeah, we're called the Hells Angels. Want to know why? And the asylum seekers who think that getting across from France to Kent makes them hard. There might have been 25 arrests, but I'll guarantee you the rest was taken care of. So that really wasn't in the news. It wasn't anywhere. I was watching it because I'd seen it on social media. So Farage is being attacked for telling the truth. Oh, they're labelling him this and they're labelling him that. And there's large-scale fights in Sheffield. I want to know how the cops got control. And then there's national service. So, I mean, I've been laughing all week. I shouldn't really, because that's cruel. But I've been laughing all week because the kids are complaining. Can you remember when the kids, like the Doom Goblin, she was, you've stolen my childhood. Hello, Greta, mate. Have you heard of Ukraine? Right. There's a rifle. There's a uniform. Are you from Sweden, Greta? Ah. So, Sweden's already told you, you thick tart, that there's conscription coming. So, there's your rifle, Greta. 6 weeks basic training and a uniform and off you go. If you want to have a uniform that's multicoloured and rainbow coloured, then you can have that if you want, Greta. Makes it easier to see and easier to shoot at from the opposition. Just saying. No conscription for the left, Waffer, Alan. Oh, I think you'll find it's coming. Well, I say that because the Doom Goblin, you destroyed my childhood. Well, we're going to destroy your adulthood, mate. But you're from a very wealthy family, so you'll obviously buy off anybody that makes you pick up a gun. She's going to be the first on the front line in Ukraine. Oh, no, you can't do this. What, you arresting me again? No, don't be stupid. This is for real, mate. For real. So can you remember the oldies that fought in the World Wars? The World War II. I mean, I know we're going through the D-Day commemorations. There's just a handful of the old boys and girls left. But we've had many of our forefathers and foremothers in theatres of conflict. For these entitled little prats to say, I'm a social media influencer. What do you mean I've got to go and fight at the front? Correct. There's your rifle. There's your uniform. Foxtrot Oscar will give you 6 weeks basic training. You are going to the front line, mate. Oh, no, you can't do that. I'm friends with Greta Doom Goblin. And Rich Boy, he's obviously literally bursting his incontinence pants because he's saying, has Greta had a back door? Hang on, who said that? Because it's funny. Let me just... Tabloid Tracy. Yeah, Greta's had her back doors destroyed. I bet she has. I do understand that she takes a bit of carpet with her wherever she goes, so she can sit down so it doesn't give her piles on the cold floor. And every now and again, if she's hungry, she can always munch on a bit of rug. So now the youth, according to Rich Boy Soaked, now the youth can have a chance to learn new skills, like running away from people that are shooting at you. And get a bit of backbone. Get a bit of backbone, go fight to defend the rest of society, because that's what forefathers and foremothers had to do. World War II. Look at the Falklands. Look at the miners' strikes. We all had to stand shoulder to shoulder with our community. So these entitled arseholes are going to have to stand shoulder to shoulder to defend our community. Now, whether it's H5N1 and a Black Swan event, mind you, that would be some Black Swan event if it was H5N1. Can you see what they've done there? Bird flu, swan, bird, wasted on you. So I will guarantee you this. No, they're not going to bring national service back because James not so cleverly, let it slip the other day. And I'll catch up with you later, Retro. And he said, yeah, that's just the first year. Now, remember when they told us in 2020, lockdown's only going to be for 6 weeks. 2 years later. So James not so cleverly is saying, oh, it's just for the first year. That's brilliant, Des. Adrian, that was foul. Tremendous. So Rich Boy, he's definitely lost the under-21s vote. But that's why Starmer's going, oh, yes, I'll have the 16-year-olds vote. 16-year-olds? They couldn't wash their own hair. The 16-year-olds. Have you tried getting a 16-year-old to do anything other than sleep? Entitled tarts. So he's lost the under-21 votes, but, and here's the thing, he's actually gained the over 40s. I mean, they're not stupid, these people, these politicians. They're not stupid. So if he's looked at, say, there's, I don't know, 20, 30, 40,000 under 21-year-olds that will vote, but there's like 200,000 over 40s. And all the over 40s are going, brilliant idea. Yes, let's have them fighting for us. Let's have them protecting us and let them go to the front line. Oh. They'll have to give them a rifle and a uniform and a bung for their backside because as soon as they get to the front line, they'll start shitting themselves. And this is simply confirmation that the powers that be have already decided Labour will almost certainly win the election in July. And they're not going to put or bring back national service. But to give Rich Boy Soaked his credit, he's He's just thinking, good old Tory sensibilities. Yeah, let's have them national service. Let's have them subscripted. Now, Rich Boy Soaked couldn't more obviously have signalled the Tories are throwing the race if he'd included the reintroduction of slavery, cancelling Christmas and banning puppies in his manifesto. He don't care, because it doesn't matter who gets in. Why are you thinking and why are you not realising it's only a two-party race? Well, it shouldn't be, because there's loads of other political parties. What about the Lib Dems? What about Reform? What about the Greens? Why are they making it a two-horse race? Because it's easy to control. That's what they do in America. It's easier to control. So the political classes will always get the outcomes that they want. So Westminster will always get the outcome that it wants. And the outcome that it wants, Starmer in power. Nobody can usurp that, except some of the other political parties. And I told you over a year ago, this general election was going to be a hung parliament. I don't think that Labour are going to get the majority that everybody is saying they're going to get. Because I will say, again, my feeling is that people will go into the voting booth and know that they want rid of the Tories. But they'll look down the barrel of a gun that's called the Labour Party and understand that Starmer couldn't stand for anything if his life depended on it. And as Fred says, just different cheeks, same arse. It's a great phrase. So people will look at Starmer and the Labour Party and go, what do I do? Now, there are other parties. That's why I say vote with your heart and vote with your conscience. Study what those elected representatives are going to do once they get into power. Now, so far, I think it was, when it was announced, it was 6 weeks. So the Labour Party, out of all the parties, I've had nothing through the door except the Labour Party. And I've had 2 leaflets, which I was going to show you. I don't know what I've done with them. I'll do it in the next live. But they're just dropping a leaflet per week. So this general election is not just about throwing the vote. It's also about controlling the conversation. And if you look at, we'll bring back national service, and all of a sudden, that was the only thing that people were talking about. Forget everything else. Forget the NHS. Forget anything else. Forget I'm going to fill potholes or do whatever. It was bringing back national service that was the national conversation for 24 to 48 hours, and still it trundles on. But talking of national service sets up that the country is, and also what it does, and I was going to talk about this in a separate video. What it also does is it keeps you fearful. It keeps you thinking that talk of national service means that the country is on some kind of war footing and sells the reality of an impending World War III narrative. Just remember that when you're seeing the groove tube pumping out the propaganda narrative, which is World War III, World War III, World War III. Even Andrew Bridgen said we're already at war with the Russians. No, we're not. Vladimir Putin has said that he wants to negotiate peace. But he's also been into China to see Xi Jinping. And some of the conversations went okay. But the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, I think. China is going to be supplying Russia. Russia is going to be supplying China. They both want to get together to get the gas out of Siberia so that Russia is fuel independent and they can wean themselves off the European gas. That's what Russia's after. But none of the mainstream media are talking about this. They're not. But what they're doing is they're trying to say to you, World War III, World War III, World War III. The poor 18-year-olds are shitting themselves. It's the only thing that they're talking about when they're awake. But as I say, if they want to be enlightened, then they can wear a rainbow uniform, because the uniform is coloured the way it is for a particular reason, so you don't get shot. Yeah, it's your end. Tucker, must be an age thing. I'm not buffering at all for once in my life. So I've also been looking at the clowns. Well, let's talk about the 18-year-olds. They think because they've been at school and all they've done is they've assimilated other people's opinions. They've assimilated what they are being controlled to learn, and they think they're the smartest person in the room. My hairy backside. Because it doesn't matter what kind of life they have, it's the kind of life they're going to get. And life has to teach you lessons. If you want a prime example, somebody who thought he was untouchable ended up being sentenced for 5.5 years for stalking and harassment. He never saw that coming. He never saw time inside coming. He never thought that he would spend 2.5 years, nearly 3 years inside and then get let out on license. He was the smartest boy in the room. And he thought top or bottom meant which bunk you want, mate. I think the next 6 months in this country, unless we wrestle back some kind of control, is going to be hell. Because we've got clowns to the left of us, clowns to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. It's all right, I quite like you. So these clowns have no new ideas. Rich Boy and Sir Scary are both doing an Obama. Have you noticed? When Obama was on the campaign trail, he rolled his shirt sleeves up. White shirt, rolled his shirt sleeves up. And everybody went, wow. Honestly, the old bother. I'm playing with you. I'm mousing you. Of course it's Steelers Wheel. Jerry Rafferty. There's a boy. Great songwriter. Baker Street was his best, though, for me. So you've got Sir Scary and you've got Wavy Davy. He's nowhere. Absolutely. Not only will the Tories get found out at the general election, I wonder what's going to happen to the Lib Dems. Yeah, Sunak's a complete muppet. I tend to agree with you, Fred. But look at them, the pair of them. They've got white shirts on. And they'll undo it. They might have a tie on it, but they might undo it to look relaxed and in control and in charge. And they roll the sleeves up to the elbow as if to say, right, I'm getting on it. I'm doing it. I'm in charge. Screwed politics, definitely. They're both begging for votes. They're literally out there just going, can I count on your vote? No, you can Foxtrot Oscar, mate. Oh, will it be the Lib Dems? Will it be a coalition with Starmer? There's going to be some horse trading. Is it going to be Reform that's going to hold the key? Jokers to the left. Here I am stuck in the middle with you lot, says Lauren. As I say to you, I watch them and I just, I fill my incontinence pants a little further. Simply because I can't stop laughing at them. Because you can see right through their game. As I say to you, how can you tell when a politician's lying? Their lips move. They're on the mainstream news. And it's being covered. Oh, we're going to do this for the NHS. We're going to do this for the potholes. Did you see the story at the beginning of the week with the potholes? Where some artist has decided to draw Richards with very large sphericals around the potholes. Fabulous. I thought it was a brilliant story. That died the death. Shame. I wanted it front page news. I'm going to talk about the Pope in a minute because, I'm thinking about just ending my time in social media and on the radio because now that I've had the opportunity to say this one headline, I've waited 40 years to be able to say, Pope bashes the bishop. Yeah, Labour champagne socialists. So we'll leave that there. Let's we'll talk about a few other things, but I want to talk about Pope Francis. Oh, bless him! I mean, he's 87. Give him a break, man. And he is God's right hand man. Which one? So Pope Francis has reportedly said there's, and I quote, look, it's the Holy See that said this, not me, so don't be having a go. Pope Francis has reportedly said there's too much faggotry amongst trainee priests in, like it was a private meeting. And most people were saying that, you know, Pope Francis is sympathetic to gays in the Catholic Church. Now, the pontiff allegedly said there was too much faggotry among trainee priests, and this was in a private meeting. So whether it was the cardinals or the bishops, because technically he is the Bishop of Rome, so I'm not bashing the bishop either. So Pope Francis allegedly used the offensive slur during discussion about gay men. And bishops say the pontiff made the remark during closed-door debate on admitting gay men into seminaries. Seminaries. So if they have drinks in there, is that seminal fluid? See if you're quick enough. So Pope Francis allegedly used that slur in that discussion. Several Italian newspapers have reported it. I mean, it's kicked off big time. He's probably just, you know. It's like some of the language that I may have used in the Northeast. It's like pubs. Pubs in the Northeast when I grew up, there was the bar where the men went. The bar was for men, where men could go and be men and drink as much as they want, but use language that they wouldn't use around women. Because men need men's company and men need men. Because when women are around, we, as gentlemen, should moderate our language. And I know that's a very old-fashioned view. But women went into the lounge so they didn't hear all the men effing and jeffing in the bar. And farting. So the Pope, 87 years old, bless him, he's alleged to have made the remark, and he was discussing whether out gay men should be admitted to Catholic seminaries where priests are trained. A topic that the Italian Bishops' Conference, the CIE, is said to have been pondering for some time. And during the discussion, when one of the bishops asked Pope Francis, the white Pope, I'll tell you for why in a moment, what he should do, the Pope reportedly reiterated his objection to admitting gay men, saying that while it was important to embrace everyone, it was likely that a gay person could risk leading a double life. He is then alleged to have added that there were already too much frocciacini. I'm not Italian. Frocciacini. It's a vulgar Italian word that roughly translates to faggotness in some seminaries. So there's the old boy. He's God's right-hand man. God will tell him what to do, not everybody else. And he's getting it tight for just telling it like it is. And all these news agencies in Italy are getting their knickers up in a bunch. So let's have a look at... No, I'm not bashing the Bishop of Rome. He's known as the White Pope. Now, the White Pope is the Bishop of Rome. There is also a Red Pope and a Black Pope. The White Pope is the actual Pope, the Bishop of Rome, currently Pope Francis from Argentina. The Black Pope is a late 19th century nickname for the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, Knight Templar. Because for the last 5 centuries, it has been one of the largest and most influential orders in the church. Black, because that is the colour of the habit of the order. Simple clerical clothing. This is currently Father Arturo Sosa from Venezuela. Blimey, they're all South American. What's going on? There's also the Red Pope, an early 20th century nickname for the prefect of the Congregation of the Evangelization of the Peoples, once known as the Propaganda Fidei for the propagation of the faith. Pope's easier. Holy Father, can I kiss your ring? Red, because the prefect is a cardinal, and another Pope, because he has authority over all mission territories and the decisions of who is made bishop in those regions, whereas established churches ultimately fall under the actual Pope, the white one, the Bishop of Rome, and the Congregation for Bishops. As recently as a century ago, nearly everything outside of Europe was considered mission territory, so fell under the Red Pope's auspices. This is currently Cardinal Louis Tagle from the Philippines. In the later half of the 19th century, it seemed the Cardinal Secretary of State during the period of Italian was known as the Red Pope. And there's no record of the title before 1861. But if you look at the Black Pope, the Jesuits were where the Templar hid some of their secrets. Jesuits were hand in hand with the Templars. And there's no such thing as a Grey Pope. I want to talk to you, where are we? A few more. Wow. No, I think I'll leave it there. That's 2 hours, 10 minutes. I'm spoiling you. You're wrong. So thank you for being here for the live this evening. Don't forget there's a new live next Wednesday, not Sunday. Please indulge me. I need to go and take care of something. And it's private and it's family, so I know you understand. The live will be next Wednesday, and Sunday's not even for negotiation. It's not, again, if I can, it's not. There will be no live on Sunday, but I will be back next Wednesday. Remember, I'm on X, at Adrian Allen. Please go well, please be safe, please be well in these troubling and uncertain times. And it's good to know that there are like-minded people like ourselves that join us in the body of the Kirk on a Sunday and a Wednesday at 8 p.m. And don't forget, if you come back for the next live next Wednesday, please let me know if you are a first. If I've missed anyone tonight that's been a first-timer, just for you. Thank you for your indulgence, and whatever you do, don't forget to smash the likes, you wrong, and before you go. And because we ran out tonight of both altar wine, don't forget the Battenberg.